Welcome to Space and Grace, the podcast for soul-led entrepreneurs done hustling for their worth. Let's build a life and business that actually feels like freedom. There's a moment that you may experience in your business where everything that you're doing that was working before suddenly stops working. And it's not because the strategy is bad. There's usually something underneath it that's causing you to stall out. And it makes it really confusing because it's really hard to make decisions. You can't figure out what to do or how to do it. So you start questioning everything, especially yourself and your own abilities. And you start wondering why everything that used to feel easy suddenly feels hard. Like everything that you would normally have done that used to go really straightforward is just becoming heavier and heavier to do. Because there's a version of you who does know what to do, right? You're really strategic and you're savvy and you're clever and you know how to run your business. You've taken the courses that you need. You're completely upskilled in what you need. You've set the goals and everything looks good on paper. But when it's time to actually execute your strategy, to launch the thing or reach out to the person that you want to connect with or post on social media, your whole body clams up. Like you might just feel extremely tired, or you might feel really confused, or you may feel like you're getting some sort of intuitive hit that not today, don't post that today, there's something better down the road. Or you might just bulldoze your way through it, ignore it completely, and do the damn thing. But either way, it still feels really horrible. And for a long time, when this sort of thing would come up for me, I would think that I needed a better strategy, a different teacher, a different program. I would feel like I was not skilled enough to deliver what I said I was going to be able to deliver. And so I'd try to think my way out of it, to force my way out of it. But the harder I tried to think, the harder I tried to force, the harder everything became, right? I started overthinking everything and second guessing everything and just stalling for longer and longer. And now I know better. I know that when these things come up, it's not that I don't know what to do, it's that my body doesn't feel safe doing them, which is a very different problem. Because strategy only works when your body feels safe executing that strategy. And if your nervous system is in fight or flight, then it's going to come up with all sorts of creative ways to get you to stop. It's going to start protecting you from potential failure, and it's going to start protecting you from that pressure and that burnout that you have a tendency to grow into. And it shows up in really tricky ways. Some of them feel very logical. Maybe there's a bunch of fires that you need to put out that all seem very, very important. Maybe you're just really distracted, like you can't figure out what to do, even though you do know what to do. Maybe you need to reorganize your entire website or your wardrobe or something quite random until you've given yourself enough space to be able to take the action that you said you were going to take. And one of the ones that's really common for me is just needing to learn more, right? Because I don't know enough, but actually I do. But I want to say there's nothing wrong with learning stuff. You just need to get really clear on why you think you need to learn it. Like if it is a skill that you do want and that you don't currently have, that's fine. But I've caught myself doing things like, I use this example all the time, but running a webinar. I already know how to run a webinar, but one time when this showed up for me, I decided I needed a different teacher to teach me how they do webinars. But there was nothing wrong with the way that I was doing them. This was just a stalling technique. This was just to overcomplicate things for me, so I didn't actually take the action. In other ways it shows up is that you get sick or exhausted, or you start making stupid mistakes or having weird accidents. I know when I've kind of reached my threshold, and when that happens, I'll do something like, walk through a door frame and just bump into it, or kick my toe on something that shouldn't have even technically been there. I start to drop things like, oh, I don't know, I'm just trying to do too much and my body's just trying to get me to slow down. And when those sorts of things happen, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 in a row, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I got you. I hear you. I'm just going to have a little bit of a rest. I see that I've been pushing too hard. And then other ways it could show up is you start discounting your prices or changing your offers for no apparent reason, even though you're telling yourself some reasons that feel very logical. And I've done this in a previous business where it was working really well and there was demand for it and I was creating real value. And for some reason, well, I know what the reason is now, but at the time I felt like I needed to lower my prices, because that would mean that more people would get to access the program that I'd created. And so I was doing a really good service. But what I recognize now is that it was really my nervous system freaking out. It was my lack of belief in my own abilities and my inability to feel safe earning a lot of money from doing something that was really enjoyable. Somewhere in my subconscious mind was a belief that if I was having too much fun, then I couldn't earn money from that. If it came too easily to me, then I couldn't earn money from that. And so I was telling myself that this was about service, that lowering my prices was about service, but really it was about my own safety. Because allowing myself to earn more would have meant having to expand my capacity to receive, and my nervous system didn't even know what that was at the time, didn't have anything to go off. So it just came up with these really creative ways to make sure that I didn't actually get what I want, that I couldn't actually create something that was extremely enjoyable and earned a lot of money. There was nothing in my subconscious mind that believed that that was possible for me. There just wasn't a match. And so it kept throwing out all these creative ways so that I couldn't get what I said that I wanted. And so my strategy stopped being enough, and I started getting creative with how I could tweak the strategy. And your strategy may be correct. Now, sometimes it's not the right strategy. Sometimes we do have to try a lot of things, right? So I'm not saying double down on a strategy that clearly sucks and you hate and that isn't working. But if you have a strategy that is actually working, and then you find that you're coming up with ways, or that you're finding things happening in your life that are preventing you from executing that strategy, then we have to look at the safety underneath it, because it's your body responding to something deeper. And when burnout becomes your baseline, your body's going to start pulling back, because it's not sustainable for you to keep pushing and hustling and running at this frantic pace. And, you know, this is where people get confused, because on the surface it might look like procrastination or distraction or overcomplication, but that's not what's happening. These are protective responses. This is your nervous system saying the pace that you set is not sustainable. Alert, alert. I need you to just pull back for a bit. And so you might stall or hesitate or overthink things, and you get to the point where you're like, who the hell even am I even? Like, what am I doing? What is this business I'm building? And why am I acting like such a nut job? And it's worse because you used to feel clear and organized and certain and decisive and even excited. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, what? Who am I? What's happening? It's like your brain is trying to drive, but your body has pulled up the handbrake, right? And so that's the point where a lot of people double down on strategy. They'll go and get another strategy. They'll buy another course. They'll read another book. They'll binge listen to a bunch of podcasts just to try and get more strategy. But if the nervous system is still playing out these survival patterns, more strategy is not going to help. It's likely that the strategy won't even work, or it will work for a while, and then you'll have the same cycle again and again and again. And if your body is bracing for more pressure and more hustle and more burnout every time you try to grow, your system will eventually slow you down, because safety always wins. I've said it before, you can push and hustle your way to wealth, but if that burns you out, you won't be able to do it again. You won't be able to do it long term. Something's got to give. And yes, I'm speaking from experience. I know that my nervous system is trying to protect me from my own behavior, from my own conditioning about working hard, from my own beliefs and outdated rules that I'm constantly looking at and trying to upgrade so that I can actually build space and grace with space and grace. I mean, the name is baked in. Every time I look at my business name, I'm like, oh, that's right. You're aiming for space and grace. Why are you, working so hard? Why are you pushing so hard? Why are you trying so hard? Why are you allowing yourself to fall for this over and over again? And what it comes back to is expanding your capacity to receive more and working on all that outdated programming, rewiring it so that you can just move everything in the same direction. Like you've got 4 wheels on a car and they're all pointing in the same direction. Because often what happens is we get so twisted up that if you imagine that car again, imagine if it's got wheels going off in different directions and you're trying to go down the road, but every wheel is pointing somewhere else. Can you relate to this? Does this feel familiar to you? Because you're not going to find that clarity and that certainty and that stability when you're in panic mode. And that kind of clarity helps you make better decisions. It helps you feel better as you're making those decisions. It helps you raise prices calmly. It helps you launch without spiraling. It helps you make a lot of money without crashing afterwards. And these are the shifts that I help my clients with inside my program, Rewired to Rich. Because the women I work with are not beginners. They already know how to make money. Their business has already started working. It's just that their internal story is that I have to work hard for money. That if it comes too easily, I didn't earn it. That I have to give everything I have in order to be of value. And it's exhausting. They've learned that when they push, money comes in easily, right? Their revenue raises, and when they take a break, the revenue starts dipping. Therefore, makes logical sense, right? That I have to keep pushing and hustling for money. But what if that isn't the case? And I've seen this. I've seen this in my own business. I've seen it in the businesses of my clients. Earning money doesn't have to mean that you have to bleed for it. Your nervous system doesn't have to be switched on all the time. You don't have to be in high alert and panic. You don't have to be in flight or fight mode. It is something that can change. We can look at those underlying patterns and those stories and those rules that you've been running on, and we can rewire them. We can make, to go back to the car analogy, we can make all those 4 wheels point in the same direction so it actually feels enjoyable and easy and makes money. Like, what? That's going to rub up against some of your core beliefs. It's certainly rubbed up against mine. And once we look at all this, the strategy just works. There's nothing stalling it. You get better at catching yourself in those moments where you've dropped out of that belief. You start noticing when your body has gone out of that safety mode, and you start recognizing what that looks like and what those triggers are, and we start working with all of that stuff so that it doesn't trip you up anymore, so that when you look at your quarterly goals or however often you do your goals and the steps that you've broken down to do them, you look at that and you're like, well, yeah, of course I can do that, no problem. So if this episode has landed for you, if this is touching on experiences that you've had, and if you're building a business that should technically be further ahead by now, or building a business that actually supports the life that you want instead of building a business that is like this business baby monster that's just taken over everything that you are, then I encourage you to get on a call with me. I would love to talk to you about where you're at, what you're experiencing, and we'll just have a no obligation chat about Rewired to Rich, and let's just see if it's your next best step. Thank you for listening today.